Amazing audience, we are live with Prakash Tata, getting to know him a bit better. This should be interesting. We're at Naperville Rotary, yeah? It's been
Right.
amazing.
The
Yeah.
Rotary Club of
The
Naperville.
Rotary Club of Naperville. It's been fun here, seeing what you guys put together. Nice to meet you.
It's meeting you, Angel.
So
Good to see you.
yeah, tell me, which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time?
Which are my talents? A good question. Um, I'm by profession an environmental scientist and quasi-engineer, I should say. Um, that actually, after my retirement in 2002, brought me to the attention of Rotary, because one of the passions of Rotary, or missions of Rotary, or the focus area of Rotary, I should say actually, is water and sanitation, to improve the water and sanitation and give a better life to the people in developing countries. I myself, being from India originally, saw a lot of poverty and also lack of good sanitation, good water supplies, motivated me actually and inspired me to join the Rotary, because it's one of the focus areas that they're specializing in. And so I thought I will be able to give back to the communities at large, meaning communities in India as well as the communities around the world where water and sanitation is a big issue for the people.
That's amazing.
So that's what brought me to Rotary, and I've been fortunate to be a member of this club, because a lot of our members here are really motivated and want to do something. Service above self is the motto of our club, and so we want to do something that will change the lives of some people, in the world.
Yeah. So who did you learn that from? That philanthropic, if you would, about that concept of giving. Who did
Service
you
of
learn
self.
that from?
It is actually comes from the family roots. Although we were very poor back in India, whatever we have, we shared with the other less fortunate people also.
Yeah.
So my mother is my source of inspiration actually. She would always say, "Be the best, do your best," and above all, be a caring person, because she was a sick person herself, particularly when my father died when I was only 3 years old, and she had to take care of us, along with the other two siblings, my widowed aunt and widowed grandmother, 5 of us there in the family. So my father was a PhD actually, was the first chemistry doctorate in the university there, but he passed away when he was hardly 31 or so.
What did he die from?
I don't know, premature death, because India, as you know, in those days, um, it could be a food poisoning or water poisoning. I don't know what it is, but his life was shortened by that premature death. So there was a motivation there for us to excel and keep the family together and that kind of stuff,
Were you the oldest, or did you?
No, I was hardly 3 years old when he passed away, but I was in the middle.
Oh, you're in the
Two
middle.
others, yeah.
Why will you continue to be that guy? That gives and gives and gives. I mean, it's since 2002. You retired, right? You could
Actually, I had one more step to go in my job, and I didn't particularly like that job. I was a group leader with 13 PhDs, including myself, 90 people staff I had. It was like a think tank. After that, I would acquire another 200 people. I would be the department head, but I didn't want to be in charge of 200 people who are more or less like production. Like it is a lab, I have about 130 people, and then an industrial waste division, another 120 people. They're all enforcement, and the other people are all just production analysis. It was not challenging to me. I did all that kind of stuff, but in my job, I was always challenged with problems, to solve the problems in the environmental
You
field.
had fun with that. You loved
Of course,
the challenge.
of course, to be honest with you, Angel, um, any day and every day. I worked in Chicago for 30 years at that in the Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. Every single day, I enjoyed my job. I went to the office with a good, clean heart,
Yeah.
and then came back also equally charged,
Yeah.
coming back from the job. So I can't complain about my job. Besides, they paid me for having fun.
Having fun.
So why not? So that's what it was.
Our friend back in Trinidad, he was our supervisor. He just left. His name is Bridgepat Gopi, and yeah, he seems as though he carried that same charge that you have. Same thing too, laboratory, being the head of the laboratory. If you told me, what's one thing you've done consistently over the last 3 years, though, something else. What's one other thing you've done consistently?
During my job or during this
Could be
time?
something else. Yeah.
Something else other than my field?
Yeah.
Well, as I said, I resurrected an old charity which was formed in 1924
Yeah.
in India, in my hometown. That particular charity, I promised one time that I would do something to invigorate it in my own way. Then I'm ready to do that. So I made a promise like that in 1984-85 to the founding secretary of that organization. He passed away, but then that thing remained in me, the promise. So I wanted to fulfill that promise. So I started this, registered the charity again in the United States. It was registered in those days, in 1936, the year of my birth, here in Chicago, Illinois, and also in California, to exchange scholars, talk about issues, particularly in the field of probably Indology, studies and things like that. But I changed the mission and vision of that organization a little bit to educate the people, give the children who deserve some scholarships and things like that. And secondly, my passion is environmental, clean up environment. And then when you clean up the environment, the health will improve. So
You've taken it from the core perspective.
Actually, from the foundation point of view, the education, environment, and health, three objectives. So whatever little, as a person I can do or I could do, I thought I will try my best.
Yeah.
So that was my vocation, not just the past 3 years, but for the last 15 years after my retirement.
Wow.
So I'm focused on that area, in those areas. And so I thought, besides doing my own little thing in an individual basis, I thought it would be great if I could synergize people like I have this inspiration to do things or motivation to do with other people. And I found Rotary.
Yeah.
The folks here that you saw today.
Yeah.
They're equally charged. They come here on Thursday for lunchtime, but still, the people you saw, they work almost throughout the time period that they are members of this Rotary Club. They're working like this.
Yeah.
So that gives me further motivation and inspiration because I'm surrounded by these guys, and they are fully charged, fully inspired, fully motivated to do things. So that gives me more energy. I'm 82 and a half years old.
What?
Yes, I'm 82 and a half.
Well done.
Recently.
I'm gonna take some of this thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess. Give me some. Well, let's switch.
Recently, we became great grandparents also.
Yeah.
So we're great grandchild. Yes.
Let's switch gears for a moment. Let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful blue Caribbean water.
Right.
What is your earliest childhood memory?
Earliest in the memory. This is an excellent question, Angel. I'll tell you. I don't even remember my father's face, but he took me once. He was a chemist. After his PhD, he became a professor at one of the local colleges. I was 3 years old. And he took me to his lab. And as I entered his laboratory building in India, there was this bowl of soap water there. I remember, I could still see that bowl. And there was a glass tube in it, okay? And then he blew a big bubble, like this big, okay? That was the first memory. Wow, I thought, okay. And then he took me to his lab. And his lab and the walls surrounded by great chemists. inventors, like the first one, Thomas Edison, he told me, this man is an inventor. And he invented so many things, he said to me. And then he showed the chemist's name. Later on, I remembered vividly, this is the guy, Kekule. He was the one who was dreaming about the structure of benzene. And then he dreamt a snake which coiled itself like a hexagon, Eureka! I found C6H6 benzene.
Got it.
And these are the kinds of things, these are the two things I remembered.
How old were you?
I was 3 years old.
So why do you think this memory is so clear?
I don't know, I didn't remember his face.
Yeah.
I don't remember his face. But what he showed me had an impression in my brain.
So can you connect that memory to who you are today?
That's what it is. He showed me something.
High five.
He showed me that thing. That's why I say, if you show the young kids, little babies, they remember things. I may talk to them any length of speech or whatever. They better remember that. But visual impression of this big soap bubble, or even the Thomas Edison picture.
That's amazing.
That's what I remember.
That's amazing.
So
That is absolutely amazing.
that was a 3
That
years
is
old.
amazing.
Yeah, that's what.
I mean, I don't need to connect to anything in that memory. What I do love is the fact that the power of one individual in terms of carrying something to its full expanse, the bubble, right?
Right.
Like you're doing right now, you're creating huge bubbles, right? By blowing into individuals.
Right.
Yeah, that is amazing.
That's what it was. So, yeah.
If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
12 years old. What was my favorite
Song.
song? Let me think. Okay, I was 12. That is 48. So many songs. I know so many songs, which I can think.
I'm guessing it
time
would
from.
be something in Hindi.
Of course,
You were
that was
back in India.
in India, Indian only.
Yeah.
Yes, Indian song only.
You
Telugu
don't
song.
remember?
Just something like a bhajan, like
Yeah.
devotion.
Yeah, tell me what. Tell me the English part of the devotion, what it meant.
It means you're the greatest, you're the life giver,
Yeah.
you're the sustainer,
There we go.
you're the destroyer.
It connects,
again,
right?
huh?
It connects, right?
It connects, yes.
You are the life giver. You are.
I don't know about that. I gave life, I think, probably.
I mean, you're giving life to dreams by making sure the potency of the water is good, and the water.
Oh yeah, that is there.
nice to
Water is the
something
primordial fluid, and without
Yeah.
water, life cannot
There we
exist. It's all the things that were there.
Amazing, right?
That's what it was. Yes.
All right, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form, so it's yes or no. Just yes or no, right? Have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Oh yeah.
Are you married?
I'm married, of course. Of course, I was married for 65 years.
Give me a secret, please.
Give my secret. Come, I'll show you. I'll share it to you. I'm a vegetarian,
I am too.
and I do exercise 5 to 6 times a week for
Right.
1 hour to 1 hour 10 minutes,
Right.
and moderate sex. Okay.
That's a way.
That's it. One more.
I like that you stood up after.
All right.
This gets the best moment ever for that question ever.
But you too, right? And you?
Yeah. I'm a vegetarian.
Curtis knows I'm a vegetarian.
All right. Do you believe in God?
Yes, I do.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Inner circle of friends? Yeah, everybody's my friend.
All right. Do you watch?
Inner and outer.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Less than 8 hours.
All right. If you had to share with us your own unique, real statement, a statement that represents Prakash, what would you say that is?
Passion.
Love it. Prakash, this was a great pleasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired. Do you want to say something in closing, though?
Well, I tell you guys, in life you have to have 3 things if you want to choose something. This is what Prakash Tata says. Remember 3 P's. You have to have a passion to do something, and you have to persist to achieve something, and you have to be perfect. Says who? Prakash Tata. That makes it 4 Ps.
4 Ps.
All right?
Prakash, this is a great pleasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Joe.
Thank you, Angel.
This is
God
great.
bless you.